as industry analyst, well, I'll speak for me because I know you take earnings to the next level, but as an industry analyst, it's really this quarterly check-in to see if the company has done what they said they were going to do for me, as opposed to looking at it, let's say, necessarily as an investment device. But Google had a very good quarter, and kind of shocking when you look at kind of how Amazon and Apple came in and kind of bit the dust, but kind of more in line with how Microsoft did and how AMD did. So they did well. The thing that I focus on the most, and I'm definitely going to leave you some oxygen on this one, Daniel, is I really focused in on Google Cloud. And it's not that the rest of the business isn't interesting. It is, but it just more aligns with the research that I think we did. And Google Cloud is doing great. I mean, 44% increase in revenue, and which I think is fantastic. And they're no longer this small entity that you can say big percentage gain, small number. I mean, they did nearly $5 billion in cloud revenue. Now, their cloud revenue is cut across IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. They have a very robust workspace, but they also have a very robust IaaS business now. And in their last conference, they rolled out not just cloud native companies, but they rolled out people like GE, who I can say with confidence is not a tech company or born in the cloud. So they also narrowed their cloud loss by 50% year on year. Previously, they lost 1.2 billion, and they lost around 600 million for the third quarter. And if I kind of optic back, and I love to do this and do some comparisons, is they are much bigger than Adobe now, which, if you think about it, is incredible. Now, they're in different businesses, and you can argue that Adobe is narrower in scope, but Adobe's been around forever, and it's pretty sure that they're on everybody's desktop, even if it's just for PDF. Then I'm curious, hey, what's the next step? Is the next step they're going to come after Salesforce for in terms of size? So overall, core overall for Google, and again, Google Cloud really doing well.
Yeah, I attended Adobe Max this week, and I think it really depends on what you're looking at when you speak to Adobe, because its business is different. I mean, it's focused on analytics, it's focused on creative, it's focused on documents. It's not really focused on IaaS at any level at all. Yeah. It's focused on really, helping companies deliver these experiences on the web and then being able to analyze them and digitize them. But yes, we'll have to talk about them another time, because this is not a segment on Adobe. But since you brought it up, I could not help myself, and it was timely that was another event, by the way, that I spent time at this week. Good Lord, Pat. Look, you hit the Google Cloud thing on the head. The revenue is bigger. It is a smorgasbord of inputs that creates that $5 billion, and the IaaS number is growing. The losses are narrowing, and the company is looking that like its investments could at some point pay off. The funny thing though is its cloud business is such a small percentage of its overall business at this point. It's not even 10% at this juncture, and it's not contributing profit, which is sort of an inverse of what you got going on at AWS, where it feeds the profit. In fact, I believe, and we'll talk about Amazon later, that Amazon only made a profit this quarter because of AWS. So you have this kind of inverse thing that everyone's looking like, why can't Google make any money on the cloud, and what's it going to take to get them there? But the beauty is when you're creating $28 a share in income, you can take some risks, and that's what we've been doing in the cloud. It's a long game for them. One of the things that is worth pointing out, and it's a little bit off our typical ad people, we don't do a lot of work in the ad space, but we do get asked quite regularly to opine the media about the social environment. We use it very voraciously. Is everyone thought that the Apple ID changes were going to just crush all the advertisers, and for Google, it's not really impacted them at all. And I said that it's because all of people that use Google provide the data directly to Google. So Apple, where they really were hammering users was when it was people using different applications that required those those cookies to be able to track and trace your activity across the internet. Well, Google gets people on its own platforms, providing their own data. So it hasn't affected. In fact, their revenues are growing. Their advertising overall has been strong. Slight increase in traffic acquisition, but like I said, their overall revenue has been very, very robust. Good quarter for Alphabet. Frankly, Pat, when they came out early in the week, along with Microsoft having done so well, I would have thought the rest of the week was going to go better than it actually did. But Alphabet's on the right track, and Google Cloud's one to watch. Although I'm still not sure their IS business is bigger than Oracle's.
Yeah, no, I don't think it is either. And Daniel, it's interesting. I was wondering when Google having its own big platforms would kick in, because the whole mobile boom, right? And the other folks who got hit by the Apple advertising key, right? Google owns the browser with Chrome, and they, quite frankly, they own the smartphone with Android when you look at a global basis, even though there's a lot more ad dollars in the United States.